What's up, folks? Usually, when you listen to one of my podcasts, you hear a bit of a music track, a voiceover talking about the person I'm going to speak to. In this case, we're trying something new. And why are we trying something new? Because it's a new segment that I call The Sit Down. These two people I met through Alignable and had several conversations with the two of them. One of them introduced me to the other one, who's now turned into somebody I speak to on a regular basis. His name is Remy. He works in the health and wellness space and is a nutritionist and a coach. Christy, who's somebody I met first, who's somebody who works in public relations, specifically in the public affairs, public policy space. So we geeked out over public policy, about communications, public relations. She introduced me to Remy, and the three of us sat down to have a conversation about the relationship and how we're benefiting from each other's knowledge, the work that we've all done, and how it's helped us systematically grow as a unit and what that's turned into for our businesses. So the Sit Down is going to be a new segment on the PR Bunker podcast where I bring people together, have conversations, help you all learn from the things that we're doing collectively together so you can grow your business the right way through relationships and like, know, and trust. Good luck. Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this episode with others. If you think of others you'd like to have on the sit down, let me know. Visit me at prbunker.com and give me some information about the people you'd like to have sit on the show. In the meantime, enjoy the conversation with Remy and Christy because I know I did. Peace out. Welcome back to the PR Bunker podcast. You may be seeing, three heads on the screen, and there's a reason for that. We're trying some new stuff today. Beyond excited to have this conversation, which we'll discuss in a second, but this segment is going to be called The Sit Down. And you're probably like, what the fuck is the sit down, Martelli? Well, the sit down is where I bring two people to the table. These are people that I trust, people I'll put my name on. Today it's Remy and Christy. But here's the twist. It's Christy's fault that we're here. She introduced me to Remy, which she's probably regretting, but it's a really good thing that she did. The whole conversation only exists because she made one good introduction. So that's what we get to. That's what we get into today. How she knew how to connect us, why it didn't die in the inbox like most intros do these days, and what it turned into. What you'll walk away today is something very, very simple, but something really important for your business. How to spot a connection worth making, and why the move is to be the person who connects people, not the one who just collects them. Now let's sit down. Christy, Remy, stoked to have you both here. I want to start with you, Christy, because it's your fault, as I said before. Tell the audience here about yourself a little bit and your work.
Thanks, Don. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I know we've been talking for a while about getting together. This is really the culmination of something that I certainly didn't envision ahead of time. I met Remy, great guy. Learned about his business through our mutual membership in a group called BNI, Business Networking International. And we both belong to the same chapter in Alexandria, Virginia, where I live, and Remy recently moved from, and learned about his business. We got used to hearing each other's elevator pitch every single week. And in meeting you, Don, in a separate platform in alignable.com, I learned what you do, which of course is similar to what we're doing today, bringing people on to tell their business stories. And I listened to a few of your podcasts and just thought how really cool it was, not only your own story and how you got to where you are, Don, but so many of your listeners and your guests that you've invited on. And as I got to know Remy better, I just thought to myself, this would be a great story because he really does. He has an amazing story of what inspired him to found his business. And I'm sure he'll tell us more about that here today. But I myself, my connection with you, Don, of course, is we're both PR folks, communications. I do strategic communications and brand positioning for small businesses in particular and nonprofits who are having trouble figuring out what the gaps are in their customer journey and trying to align their customer relations with the communications and outreach that they're doing. And so the more I learned, like I say, about what Remy did, he just had a story that I knew needed to be told, and thought that you are the right guy to pull it out and ask the right questions. And of course, that episode is alive and available for everybody to listen to, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well, I want to appreciate the introduction. And, Remy and I have geeked out in this relationship since you made the introduction. So without further ado, the man of the hour, Mr. Remy Rory, my man, who we recruited back to Beantown, right? We dragged him out of Virginia, brought him up to the best town in the world, even though he's down in the South Shore. But Remy, this is awesome, brother. I'm glad we're here yet again on the podcast, talking chop. But tell the audience here about your work and tell us about your relationship with Christy.
Yeah, I mean, she nailed it. We met through BNI, and I really appreciated her passion for her business. I could tell you meet people who I feel like oftentimes they're in it for the paycheck, right? And granted, we all like to get paid, but I could tell it was deeper than that with her. And she was very relationship based. So, as we got to talking, she just kind of mentioned, hey, I know someone you can meet, you should meet. And we hear that a lot, right? Like as networkers, someone's always saying, I know someone you should meet. And oftentimes you leave that meeting thinking, why did they think we would have a connection? After I had my first meeting with you, I knew exactly why she connected us. And before we get into the meat and potatoes, I would say a good way to tell that if it's a real connection is if you meet with someone and you don't even talk about what it is you do. Like we didn't get to that until much later on in the conversation, Don, because we were connecting on music, our lifestyles, so I appreciated her for having the foresight to be able to see that ahead of time.
Right? And what's your business? What do you do for work? Even though I know
Yeah, yeah.
intimately what you do, but all right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So long story short, I basically help busy professionals reclaim their health. They probably put that off to the side of trying to build a business, running a family, whatever it is that they prioritized over themselves, and they put their health on the back burner. And I come in and implement systems that will teach them how to reclaim their health and maintain it in a sustainable format.
Love that. And I can 1,000% no bullshit put a 5-star rating and my thumbprint on that system because, to be blunt, it fucking works. I am systematically down probably 20, almost 23 pounds since I've been doing this on my own. Then I met Remy, which is a massive spark because I was good at working out. I sucked at putting, like, understand what the hell was going down the gullet. And Remy's like, yeah, you know what? You should eat this instead of that. Oh, by the way, instead of having this to drink, maybe have that to drink. So that unlock was huge for me. So meeting Remy was a catalyst for me, both personally and professionally. But Christy, going back to you, what I found interesting, because Remy had the same deal. When we were talking, you said, I have somebody you need to meet. It was I'll never forget. It was kind of random. And I was like, yeah, I'm a PR guy. I'll talk to anybody. Right. So I'd love to have you meet Remy. I'm like, sure, man, I'll meet some dude. Right. Get on here. Like, this dude's from Baltimore. He's got a questionable fandom on some of his sports, but he's going to become a Boston fan. But we started geeking out, and we're like, for the first 40 minutes, we're talking about like Tribe Called Quest, Wu Tang, food, Boston versus Baltimore. And like, I had no idea what the dude did until like 45 minutes of conversation. I'm like, man, I don't know what this guy's all about, but I'm in. And I'll never forget. I think I sent you an email, Chris. It was like, I'm not sure what's going to go on here with Remy and I, but you nailed it. Two dudes, two dads with kids, marriage, right? They married a woman from Dorchester. And so there was just a connection there that was so human that it had to be explored. And I think the three of us still being connected in the way we are now proves that the system does work, whether it be health and wellness or networking or your business. You need a system to maintain relationships. And we all got them, right, Christy? We got a little stack of business cards floating around our desk somewhere, right?
Yeah, but they're just sitting here.
Christy's the chapter president. She's the winner. But let me ask you all this. I'll go back to you, Christy. When you're doing your one-on-ones and meeting people, all right, what's your strategy as you're getting to know folks? What's your strategy in interviewing folks and getting to know them from a networking perspective?
That is my strategy first and foremost. Get to know them. Relationship, the relational aspect of getting to know people, getting to know what they do for a living. People usually do what they do for a living for the most part, especially business owners who have created their own thing. They're doing it out of some kind of passion, some kind of interest, or there's always a backstory. And so I'm always interested in what that backstory is. Who is this person before I think about what it is they do? Because understanding them and understanding who they are and what makes them tick, what their interests are, what their lifestyle is like, what they're passionate about, that's going to tell me a lot about not just understanding their business better, but the key word is I'll also trust them. And trust is paramount for me.
Huge.
I
That's
don't
it.
work for people that I don't trust. And
There you
I
go.
don't want to just take someone's money for services if I don't think that it's the right fit, because the trust is more important. So I'm willing to let a sale go or a service provision go if I think that there's someone I know better in my network, like one of you perhaps, that can serve them better and what their needs are. Because at the end of the day, for me, I'm in business and I know you two are too. And that's why I connected you, because I knew that that would resonate through everything that you talked about. We care about each other as human beings first. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line for me.
Yeah. I love that. It's funny because when I in my variety of conversations, which are basically multiple times throughout the course of the day, over either a phone call, FaceTime, or a text message with Remy. It's constant, right? We always talk about these subjects, and one of the things that I learned about Remy and what he does is the systemization of health and wellness, which I was like, man, that's so freaking brilliant because I never thought of it that way. Because I've been systemizing my networking at the same time, and so two dudes, different worlds, different career paths, but have systemized the most important thing to them, which is the work that he does for his clients, which is system based. And I am all about systems for networking and building my business. And so the correlation and the connective tissue between that has been fantastic. So, Remy, I'd love to for you to explore, because you're all about trust. People hire you because they believe your story. They know that you have been successful in what you do for them. And just like somebody who's a financial advisor, if you're trusting somebody with your health and wellness, that's an intimate experience. And you said it, which I loved. I'm trying to get fired, which means I don't want people to hire me for 12 years in a row. Like, they should learn the system so they can take the training wheels off and do this thing themselves. So talk to us a little bit about like that system mentality for your business, but also for the clients you work with.
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head, but it was vice versa for me. Like when I met you, I had been big on systems for health because that's what I do. But I never thought about systems in my business. And you brought that to me. So it was a fair exchange, no robbery. But honestly, that opened the door for me to think about every aspect of my life and my family. We've created systems in our family to make sure nothing slips through the crack. So I think that word systems began to be the connective tissue for both of us. But it is definitely what Christy said about having that know, like, and trust factor. I have to build that first, which is why, it's rare that someone just hears something I do or even finds out what I do and just says, yeah, I'm all in, let's sign up. It doesn't work that way. I have to develop some trust because all the way down to them being open about what's going on with their health. That's a very personal, private conversation. And if a person thinks I'm going to take everything they told me and run to the interwebs with it and, blast it all over my social media, I wouldn't be in business long. So it is a lot of building trust. And I think that became a system, right? Like of not letting something, if I say I'm going to do something for someone, that has to go into a system so it doesn't fall through the crack. Because the moment I drop the ball on that, and if I'm prioritizing 50 relationships in a week, it's bound for something to fall if I don't have some type of strategic system in place for that to happen. So it became very important to me that I created that. And it's because of Christy that I met you that I was able to get that thought process going, right?
Awesome. Love that. Now, back to you, Christy, about this kind of line of questioning is really around as you're meeting people and you're networking. I think the three of us are kind of from the same school, where it's not about, hey, my name's Don Martelli, I work for X, Y, and Z. Let me pitch slap the shit out of you, but rather, I'm more interested in learning more about you, right, and how I can help you. What's your as you're networking and meeting people and meeting clients? What's your strategy with relationships? How does that? How do you get somebody to a yes without pitching them? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a great question because I never pitch. I the only time I would say that I sort of do that is, giving the what we all know to be called that 30 to 45-second pitch if you're, in a meeting with an, specifically for networking or something like the BNI group that I talked about, or, if you're a Chamber of Commerce member and you go to an event. But with potential clients or networking partners, and a lot of times one can become the other and vice versa too. You just never know. The most important thing is just simply saying, "Tell me about yourself." To me, it's an interview as if I were hiring them, not the other way around. And by approaching it that way, it shows that I'm very serious about the fact that I do care first about who they are and also where they are in their process and systems. You can't know how to fix a problem for somebody or help them until you know what's going on currently, and you need to listen more than talk. And so for me, those, especially those first, I work with customer journeys, and I frame everything around that. And for me, I'm heavily focused on things like rebranding and looking for gaps in communication, because I'm strongly focused on communication and PR stuff, just like I know you are, Don. But I also look at the full system, and when I'm working with someone, I'm heavily focused in the beginning stages, because that's where breakdowns are the most volatile. If we're in an age where everything's about clicks and click throughs and views and how long did you stay on a site or whatever. All of that data that we can now collect so quickly, and AI has just, sped that up exponentially. It's all great and it's good to have, but we can't push out the human factor. And what I love about what happened with the three of us is that we took the time to be present with each other. We were there. When we were talking to each other, we weren't distracted by something else. We weren't typing and looking down and, half listening or something. We were there. We were present. And that's what, yeah, exactly, Remy. That little thing in your hand that gets in the way. Yeah. So all the tools, all of the data science, it's all great. And I know we're all running to catch up, especially those of us who are like me, or the Gen Xer that didn't exactly, wasn't exactly born with one of these things in my hand, unlike my adult children. But it really still should never replace what truly builds the trust. And that's, they want to see you. They want to hear your voice. They want to know if you're bullshitting them or not, because most people can tell that. And so if you're genuine, if you come across as someone who really cares about who they are first, before you get into the what do you do, a lot of times I don't even have to ask what you do, because by the time that we get to know each other a little bit, they're already telling me, they're comfortable enough to tell me, these are my pain points. This is where I need help. Can you help me?
Yeah, that's good insights right there. I had somebody today, LinkedIn, trying to pitch me some software platform, and he's like, "Oh, how are you driving revenue?" I'm like, "Relationships," and that's all I said. Well, I'm hearing from a lot of marketing managers that relationships just aren't really cutting it these days. I'm like, "That's because they're the wrong relationships." Haven't heard from the guy since.
Good for
Right?
you.
Just
Yeah.
like, go fucking pound sand, dude. Like you're barking up the wrong tree. But we'll flip back to you, Remy. You know, I agree with you, Chrissy, that the systems are important. The technology is fantastic, but it still needs to be human centered and focused. So now, Remy, you are in a personal relationship with your clients, but I know for a fact, because you jokingly calls me Don Starks because of all the ideas I'm throwing at him, but he's implementing them at a feverish pace. Like, so talk to the audience a little bit, like, how are you geeking out using these technologies to work on your business, not in it so feverishly, but how do you stay human centered with the people you work with despite the use of these tools?
Great question. Because I see a lot of people, especially in my field, in any field that's service based, they're scared of AI. They're scared of technology because they think it's going to replace them. And one of the things that I've definitely learned from you is that integrate with it. So I don't use any type of technology to necessarily replace me. But what I will do is I have a hard rule for all AI. It can't act in my position. It can't do something for me wholly. It could suggest, right? Like it could create a draft for me. And then I'm going to go in and make sure that it's saying what I want it to say, the way I want it to be said. So I use it to optimize instead of replace. I do think that Christy hit the nail on the head when she talked about authenticity. I think is going to be the thing that's going to really shine in the future, because AI is everywhere, right? And so many people are getting their hands on it that every message, it's to the point where I can tell now. When I get a message, I'm like, you didn't write that. And it's almost like I don't even take offense anymore because there's so much volume, right? Like, oh, you're gonna be mad at everybody if you did that. But if I see someone took the time to put something across to me that Christy just sent me a message that I knew she wrote, right? Like, and I was like, that's awesome, because not only it's like a handwritten note, like back in the day, right? Like, we could type it, but when you get a
Yeah.
handwritten note, it means something more to you. So I do still try to have those touches, especially in my weekly contact with my clients. That's all me looking in saying, this is what I see. Let's have that conversation. So I don't think you should replace yourself with AI, but I do think you should implement a little Don Starks in your life and try to let it help a little bit, right? Jarvis, how can you help me?
Yeah, it's a helpful tool. Yeah. No, it's
It
a very
can be.
helpful tool. Yeah, it can be a very helpful tool. I mean, I've spent here lately, so I do an awful lot of thought leadership type writing. I've got a Substack like Don does, and sometimes I write for publication outside of that. But I've been really interested in the AI build out and how it is impacting for good or bad communities, how we're trying to grapple with the the rapid sort of rapid fire succession of how it is building out. And I'm a country girl from the backwoods of West Virginia, literally, and I know a lot of people coming from the coal mine culture, and I know what the hollowing out of communities did when the coal barons came. I mean, it was before my time that the push came, but I lived through and grew up in what was left over afterwards, and that's still the case there in many places. And you kind of see it happening again. So it's really important that as business owners and as we connect with one another, that human factor is not forgotten. And people are pushing back in communities. And, I just did a 3-part article series on all of this in different ways that people are starting to wake up and realize, wait a second, do I want a data center in my backyard? Yes, I use AI. AI is here to stay. But what does that also mean for environmental quality, land use, my water, energy demands, when our grid is already, highly impacted? So I say all that to say that when we talk about building trust in business and with our network and making friends and things like that, it's so important that we remember that these things, as powerful as they are and as intelligent as they are still just machines and they're still just tools. There is something unique and very precious and special about a sentient being, and
Yep.
that's what we are. And so that is the thing that is the connector for me. When I'm working with a client or I'm networking and bringing people together, like I did you guys, and I'm so happy that we've continued this friendship.
Hashtag blame Christy. It's our fault. I mean,
Well,
look, you got a fast talking Bostonian, you got an army brat from Baltimore, right? Who's now transplanted to Boston, and the backwoods Christie, right? You got 3 people that have come from and it's the beauty of technology to get us connected, right? But at the same time, at the core of the story is people understanding where they are and how we can support each other. Like, I've introduced people to Remy, I've introduced you to Christy, and vice versa, and we've the 3 of us connected has opened up several hundreds, if not thousands, of other doors for connections, learning, and despite the tools and being conscious about how we use them, I still think it's going to be about, because it's always been this way, about people. Like, before, back in the days when I would put a press release in a fax machine, you remember those days, Christie's, right? You
I
actually
sure
have to
do.
pick up a phone to call a reporter, right? Like,
Yeah.
what did you do to meet people? You got your big boy pants on. You went to your local, Chamber of Commerce meeting, put your suit and tie on, and walked in with a stack of business cards and had 9,000 cups of bad coffee around the room, met a bunch of people, came home, and you might have, like, called them a couple times. And, like, every networking has always lacked a solid system. And I think the proof that the 3 of us continue to chat, through jobs, through moves, through life changes. I mean, I've never left the basement since you all introduced me. I'm still here. But, like, through all of that, we've figured out that I've got a system that's kind of maniacal and crazy. Remy's got one he's building that's maniacal and crazy. Krista, you've got one, but it's ours. But the core of it, regardless of the backwoods, Baltimore, Boston, right? It's people at the center, which I think is such a critical thing to kind of kind of continue to keep a pin on. And I know, like Remy, you and I have talked about it. Like sometimes that touch point is a latest thing is video messages back and forth. And by the way, my favorite thing to do is when we sent you a video message when the two of us were together. That was awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait to do this. We're like, what's
That
up,
was
Chrissy?
great.
Guess who I got?
That was awesome.
actually become my favorite thing to do in general because sidebar Don connected me with somebody who I just met with yesterday, and we sent him a video message like, "Look at us," So it keeps going.
Great.
I also would add that I would encourage people, like for instance, this morning I got a huge paper from the VA telling me that I need to schedule appointments a week out from the 3 appointments that were on that paper. Now I'm running a business. I got a lot going on, kids. For me to do the math on how long it would have taken for me to make that original appointment, go in, I took a screenshot of that paper, fed it into AI and said, schedule this appointment for me. 30 seconds later, I look up and that appointment is in my inbox. Now, did I kill any personal connection there? No. But did I optimize my life so that I can now actually spend more time doing a personal connection? Yeah. So I think that's how AI has to be used in a smart and sophisticated way.
Yeah,
That's
what's
a great example. Yeah.
agreed.
Perfectly.
I mean, automating it allows us to work on our business versus in it every single day.
Mhm.
And there's the tools are coming at us at a feverish pace, right? And the costs are only going to go up. And I think you both have alluded to this. We will start to self-select which ones we want to use and which ones we don't. And we might even be looking at, I want to use this AI tool because it's corporately and socially responsible, right? It has a nonprofit arm that gives back to water treatment or like versus just one of the companies that go public and make billions and billions of dollars. So I think that there's going to be some attention to that. And I think some of the younger audiences that even my kids, they're like, you on Claude again, Dad? Like they're just busting my chops for using the tools. I'm like, and you're going to be using them too. I mean, maybe not my oldest because she's going to be a nurse, but like, I think we, from an age perspective, are in this kind of sweet spot. We're not the boomers, right? We're not the young bucks that don't pay attention to stuff. We're sort of in this, you know, the kind of the quality back nine of our career, where we can actually make some really good money by providing the counsel we can provide to our clients because we've learned a few things over the years. But regardless of the tool, again, it's still about the connections we have. But real quick pivot to the tools. What are they? I'll start with you, Christy. If you had to pick 3 things to kind of use on a regular basis, what would those tools be? And it could be any social media platform, could be something on your phone. What are the kind of the core? What's your like core stack look like?
Right now, it's Substack because I do a lot of writing and publishing.
Love it.
AI for sure, and
Yep.
when I say AI, everybody's using it differently. We're learning how to use it differently. I use it to generate, like seriously generate everything from images to, whether that's for social media push out. My homepage is AI generated. I just put my first professional photo in there and told it what to do, gave it my color codes and said, here's my brand kit, make me a homepage, and it did an awesome job. So I use it for everything from design features. But what I love about that is that I'm still the editor in chief of anything I have at draft. I actually enjoy that because I can spend more time editing in my voice and not just trying to figure out the entire thing in the outline. So AI, Substack, and then socials for me right now, it's mostly focused on LinkedIn. That one. And then a fourth one would be Alignable for network connections.
Cool. How about you, Remy? What's your stack look like?
Yeah, it would definitely easy to spit this out. Thanks to you, Don. It's Claude, Granola, HubSpot. Claude, is kind of like the connective tissue for all of those. Granola for any note taking. That thing is amazing on steroids. The way it's able to create these templates for how I need. And then HubSpot is like my catch-all, my CRM for anybody, whether it be clients or networking. And
Yeah,
that's
I
something
forgot
that
that.
I
I
would,
have that too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would
it's a great
suggest
one.
that people do that. That's something that I learned from Don is I didn't have a system for my networking specifically. It was let me get a card and call them when I call them, and now because of HubSpot, I get pinged, hey, you haven't talked to Don today. So, send him a message. So those things, those are the three that I think really, and the
Yeah.
fourth would be Alignable. I do think
Yeah.
that Alignable has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, for me, it's the same across the board. I mean, I'm a glutton for these tools. I mean, my discipline has to be around the subscription models, right? So I'm not spending $10,000 a month on a bunch of tools I don't use, and so HubSpot, Granola, Alignable, clearly, LinkedIn, mostly from a thought leadership perspective. Then I've got like this B level of tools like Loom if I'm doing like some screen recording stuff. I'm still an old
Yeah,
school
I use
Evernote
that too.
guy. I love Evernote. Evernote's kind of like my journal. I kind of dump everything in. It's like my brain. I just dump stuff in Evernote. The fun part I have with any of these tools is finding how they can communicate to each other. Like what MCPs exist, what APIs exist, what do I need to build in Make or Zapier or any other tool and get them to do the things I want to. So like I can focus on having 15 quality one-on-ones today because I know when the one-on-ones are done, the notes will be captured. I can send an email right to Christy when we're done with all the things I suggested we're going to talk about or what I owe her with the links and attachments because it's already done this for me before in the language that I've told it to use so I can be the editor in chief. And other than that, if I had 15 one-on-ones, I'd have to write all the emails, go to the details, and I'd spend more time in the minutia versus like on creating the just a simple easy flow. And but it's allowed me to be more connected to people, which I think is awesome because that's what this is about. And the three of us are a prime example of how, one single conversation that got sparked somehow, like you all met in BNI, and Chris, I think you and I met. Was it on Unalignable, right? Was it on
It's on
Unalignable? Yeah,
Alignable.
Unalignable.
Yep.
Yeah. And one
Yeah.
conversation, and like your brain was like, ding, 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 Remy, Dawn, and so all of a sudden, us two dudes are chatting. But for me, if as this continues, not just our relationships, but as the system build and technology continues to move forward, I think Remy, you said it before, and I think Christy mentioned it too. It's just going to be about people always. And for those of you out there that are building a business, that are struggling with how to do all this, just lean in on the tools to automate what you can. But if you still focus on people and supporting folks, business becomes a bit of a boomerang. What advice would you have to entrepreneurs out there right now that are in communications looking to start their own thing? What advice would you provide them in terms of where we are now as business professionals, communicators, accessibility to tools? Take your words of wisdom and what kind of advice would you provide young entrepreneurs about networking and building a business?
Don't be afraid of the technology. Embrace it because, one good example for me that I figured out is I sometimes I will get anxiety over how quickly things are changing. Even the tools that I think I've got a decent handle on get upgraded or some new thing happens or like, take HubSpot for example. I mean, I've my business is fairly new. It's only like, less than 2 years old. But within that time, having HubSpot, I mean, they've added things. A lot of these platforms are trying to be the Walmart of technology, right? They're trying to have everything in one place. That may or may not be a good fit for you. But I think the most important advice I could give is if you're feeling overwhelmed, then focus on one thing at a time and make sure that technology is helping you prioritize and focus, not be your enemy. One of the ways I did that is it suddenly dawned on me, if I don't know how to, like, say, make a segmented list in a HubSpot, which I didn't when I started. I went to AI. They have all kinds of things that you can spend hours reading, right? Because they don't have humans that are easy to reach. They do exist, but they're hard to find. So you can spend hours reading all their instructional pages and trying to find exactly the thing that's going to fix your problem. Or you can put it into AI as a question and say, teach me how to do this, whatever it is, HubSpot, you know, and that is honestly how I was able to prioritize my time, learn technology. And even if I forget what the process was after I did something, I can always go back to AI and say, hey, remind me how to do this, because you can save your conversations in there. So my advice is make technology your friend and your tools, and then just take a deep breath and focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, good advice. How about you, Remy? What advice would you provide young entrepreneurs or people that are just dabbling with with the technology for their business?
Definitely say fail faster, right? Like, and by fail, I mean make mistakes. Don't be scared to get in there and make mistakes. And then kind of piggybacking off what Christy said, use AI to learn AI. So my wife said something to me to the effect of she didn't understand how to use Claude because she couldn't figure out how to prompt to get what she wanted. So I said, okay, write the prompt that you think is right. And she did. And then it didn't spit out what she wanted. And I said, now tell Claude to help you build on that prompt. So then it started giving her suggestions. And then she went back in and then finally she got what she was looking for. So that would be my advice, something that I wish I'd have known a lot longer, which was a longer ago. Use AI to learn AI, right? It can make you better. So if you don't know anything, start
Yeah.
there.
I
Yeah.
always say I'm the dumb blonde. I'm like, hey, I have this problem or this thing I want to do. Can you do it? Great. And it gives me some stuff. I'm like, I have no idea what you mean. I'm reading the words on the screen. I feel like an idiot. Like literally, hold my hand, walk me through it painfully, step by step, and slow down. And eventually, it just started to learn. Okay, Dawn needs stuff that's like, hey, knucklehead, I'm going to give you a step by step so you can follow this thing step by step. And sometimes I'll grab the screen, throw it into Claude, like, hey, look, I'm where you're telling me to be at. I don't know where to go. It's like it's right there, dude, top of the screen. I'm like, ah, shit, I missed it. But like,
Yeah.
as you're doing to automate and speed things up, you're also learning at the same time. And like the skills will be prompting and then stitching prompts together, building skills, building apps, and just connecting tools to automate your process. But it starts with that simple question. I don't know how to do this. How do I do it? So it's good stuff. So we're gonna pivot real quick. Neither one of you know that these questions are coming because I just literally made it up on the fly. As you are introducing people to Remy, Christy,
Hmm.
what's the regardless if it's a person who's in the legal field and they blah 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 blah, what's the one personal attribute that you mentioned about him that makes his story stick to the people you introduce him to?
I have introduced him to referred a couple of people to him in the past because they said a couple of specific things that made me realize they need to work with someone they trust, and Remy's the right person. There are two reasons for that. The person generally has said something or made a comment about their health, either that, they're not comfortable going in the gym every day, or that they've tried and tried and they're just struggling to, you know, stick to it, find a system, find something that works, but they don't want somebody that's going to, put a lot of pressure on them, especially professionals who, are already, struggling with a lot and time constraints. They're ready to commit, but they clearly, from what they say to me, just don't know how to build that system for themselves. When I hear certain things like that there's likely going to be a commitment, that they're serious, but they just don't know where to go, that's when I connect them with
Got it.
him.
Got it. So my question to you, Remy, is not the same question because I don't want you cheating. So since you've known Christy longer than I have, what's the one or two things you know about her that people will naturally discover as they get to meet her?
One of them I touched on, which was her passion. Have a conversation with her about policy, any policy, and you'll be there for a while. I promise you, because that's something that she's passionate about, right? Like she likes to have that conversation. Another is another word that we touched on today, which is authenticity. I do think that she's very authentic, all the way down to I don't think I can get to that today. Or I can probably do that at this time, right? Like she'll set a very clear boundary and expectation so that you're not like in the wind, like I thought she said she would. You know how people do that. So I've always appreciated both of those things because I think that's two of the things that make a good human.
Love that. And so, as you were both talking, the reason why I came up with these two questions on the fly, which is the genesis of what I hope the sit down will become, is that as you're meeting people and you're networking and you're extending your network into people you start to like, know, and trust, knowing them at that intimate kind of level makes better introductions. Hey, I could say, hey, you struggle with health and wellness? meet Remy. He's a good guy. Good luck. Oh, you're looking for a policy podcast? Christy's great. Talk to her. Versus talk to Remy. Here's what he's all about. This is the work that he does. This is his personal journey to get where he is today. There's a reason why Christy's so passionate about public policy. Blah, blah, blah. Like the richness in the context of the human being. And as you're making those introductions, when Remy and I first spoke, you did that, Christy, for us. Remy, you need to talk to Don because of blah, 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 blah. Fast talking Italian, can't really understand him, talks kind of weird, but I think you'd like him, right? Well, you got to talk to Remy, also kind of weird dude. He kind of looks like you, but like you're like Oreos, right? But the two of you are going to be brothers from another mother, but you're going to get along well. I'm like, shit, all right. 30 seconds in, I'm like, I fucking love this guy. This is fantastic. But it's the context that you provided into your introductions between the two of us that really made our relationship spark faster than any gallon of gasoline. So one, I thank you for that, and it's been an incredible addition to my life personally and professionally, and it's a much better experience with having Remy in it, and I can't thank you enough for it.
Likewise.
I can say the same. Likewise. I mean, I'm so glad to know both of you, and it doesn't really matter where things started or where they originated from. It's
where they're going.
Being in the journey with you that I'm
Totally.
so grateful for.
Totally. So Christy, if people are interested in your work on the communication side, your podcast and public policy, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website at amatadevservices.com. Best thing is just simply reach out. You can reach out by phone, 304-203-8727. And email me, of course, Christy at amatadevservices.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active on there. So that's another great way to reach out and check out my work. Take a look first, Substack, and I'd love to have a chat and find out where we can connect.
Love that. And how about yourself, Remy? Where can people find you?
What does successful networking look like to both of you? Right? Because I do feel like you have to have some measure of success. When you go to a meeting, if you come back with a stack of business cards, was that a successful networking meeting? Like how do you measure your success in networking?
Good, Christy.
That is a great question. And it's kind of funny that we're talking about this. I appreciate the question because it's a question that I like to have with my clients pretty early on too, because if you don't know where you're going, then you probably don't know why you're there in the first place. So if you're gonna make the commitment to show up, then you should have a roadmap and know where you're going and where you want to get to. So success for me is measured by the value of the relationship and what that brings in terms of simple human sentiment and feeling and caring and that loving kindness that we all want to try to share with one another. So there's that, more subjective, but nonetheless very important part for me. And then success is when you are connecting with not just anybody, but the right people that are going to genuinely support you in your work, and you're going to be passionate about supporting them because, again, you care about each other. So that, to me, that's the measurement of success.
For me, it comes down to 3 words: collaboration, equity, and yes. A good networking meeting turns into initial conversations. And if you probe right, listen, and provide value to those people from day one, just like Christy did with me and you, Remy, for us, that's proves to you that the person's in it to build with you and know and trust, and that collaborative journey starts. And then it kind of forces you to be equitable in that relationship, because here's Christy dumping value into relationship without even being asked from day one. Now I feel compelled to do the same thing. And you can know right away if that person's full of shit or not, right? If they start giving you all types of stuff and introducing you, you don't return the favor, like that well will go dry at some point, right? And the yes is simple. The yes can simply be subscribe to my Substack. Hey, Remy, I'm going to a restaurant tonight. I absolutely want to down that triple cheeseburger with bacon and egg. And he's like, all right, fat ass, you might want to have a salad first, but you maybe have a little blast of apple cider vinegar first to contradict the bread. I'm like, cool, bro. I need that, right? I firmly believe that every relationship gets to a yes. And it could be simple as, I'm going out to eat tonight. I need advice. Hey, I'm having a bad day today, bro. I just need somebody to talk to. Hey, you know what? I'm in a job and I fucking hate it. And I'm like, well, you know what to do, Christy. You've got the background, you've got the experience, you got the network. Like, go get it. You
Go
sometimes
get it.
just need that yes. So to answer your question, Remy, it's sort of collaboration, equity, and yes. And not the yes this way, but the yes outbound. Because it comes
Yes.
back. It 1,000% comes back in some way,
Right.
shape, or form. And that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's
Good
great, Don.
question.
I mean, when you give, another measurement is paying attention to what the receiving part looks like and what the reciprocation is. Because if there's equity in that relationship, like you said, that's a great word, then you know that there's success there. And I'll add one, laughter. Look how great we feel
Yes.
when Don makes us laugh.
And my second life,
Yeah.
I'm coming back as a bad comedian.
Agreed.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And so, Remy, go back to where can people find you?
Yeah, on all socials, M&E Method, N-E Method, on all of them. LinkedIn's my name, Remy Roy, obviously. And then the website, M&E Coaching. M&E stands for Mindset, Nutrition, Exercise. You can always find me there. All my links to contact me are there as well. And I always invite people to go to the website and sign up for the newsletter and get a bunch of free game there. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So two things. I highly suggest you subscribe to Christy's Substack. Check out the podcast, the website, because it's good stuff it's a nice world I don't fit in. And Remy's doing a whole bunch of cool things on the health and wellness stuff. If you're good at working out, but you suck at stuff that goes in this way, like he can unlock that pretty quickly. And he's got this really cool tool. You go into a restaurant and like you have no idea what to eat because you're on this like a good healthy path. He's got this tool that he built out that literally will look at the menu and say, hey, this is what you might want to consider in terms of getting your protein and blah, blah, blah. It's a great way to have a coach in your pocket, literally on your phone to go into that restaurant. But kudos to the two of you for doing incredible work in your respective spaces. I'm glad that this triangulation of relationships has been generated through Christy's kind of insights and seeing us together. So wish you both a success. This won't be the last time we talk because we talk all the time. And I appreciate y'all being on the PR Bunker podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the PR Bunker podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and into the trenches with founders, builders, and operators making real moves. This show is brought to you by the PR Bunker, a strategic communications agency helping mission-driven and impact-focused organizations cut through the noise and tell stories that matter. Want to learn more? Head to prbunker.com and subscribe to The Bunker Briefing, our monthly email newsletter packed with a 45-second read that's stacked with value. We're talking practical PR and communications insights, networking tips, and strategies to help you navigate the moments that matter. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more raw, real conversations on the way. So stay locked in. Until next time, keep building, stay resilient, and remember, momentum favors the bold.